My biggest competitor is when I look in the mirror. Don't say no to me. Tell me what you would need to hit my deadlines.
Tommy Mello.
What do you do for a living? Because I'm going to go open up in your market the same shit you're doing in crushing. We don't go off of gut feeling. We go off of what the facts are. Let the hustler in you die. No longer are you a hustler. You're a business owner. It's focused on the people and growth.
So you're spending a ton of money on marketing and you don't know if it's working. So my friends over at Service Scalers, they're dropping this special promo for a $99 digital marketing audit. So that's going to cover your PPC, your SEO, your LSA. And what they do is they just open the hood and they take a look. They tell you what's working, what's not working, what could be optimized, and all the big areas for improvement. Check out the link below to schedule your digital marketing audit or head to servicescalers.com. Welcome back to Owned and Operated. Today on the show, we've got Tommy Mello. Tommy hardly needs an introduction, but Tommy's the founder and CEO of A1 Garage, and we're just stoked to have you on here today, Tommy. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be good. I would love it if you just, I'm sure everyone knows a lot about your journey. I would love it if you just gave folks a little bit of like where A1's at today. That way we could set the stage for what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, we partnered with private equity, an amazing group. I think PE's got a bad name. That happened at the end of 2022. We're 16 months in. And I was just thinking about this earlier. I think it's the best move I've ever made. No regrets. And I know there's so many people, 9 out of 10 will tell you they made the wrong move. They got the wrong partner, that just, they don't like being an employee, whatever it is. But this group is amazing. I really like the guys we're working with. I was always thinking, how do we get this company to 100 million of EBITDA? How do we get it to 120 million of EBITDA? And now there's a new target as of the last 2 weeks. It's 200 million of EBITDA before I make my next turn. I don't think we'll have a problem hitting 70 million. We're paced for about 55 without acquisitions or greenfield or going into any type of commercial. So we've got 2 LOIs in place. We're greenfielding into 3 markets. We're going to roll out commercial and a couple other opportunities. So I will tell you, at every size company, you've never made it. There's a new circumstance, new challenges, but they're not the same as it used to be. It used to be, is the guy's going to come to work sober? Is this guy even going to show up today? Is the truck going to break down? Are enough calls going to come in today? That's thank God. Those are kind of fight or flight issues. Now it's why is our cancellation rate up in this market? What's our capacity planning look like for the end, going into Q3, things like that. We're really focused, not only on the bottom line, but the culture. I think as you grow, the culture is a really fancy buzzword, but it's so important as you grow. And the company I work with, Core Tech, they're so focused on founder operated companies. And I got the honor of speaking at their big Core Tech meeting. I was the only founder of 130 of their investors. And I just went on stage for 10 minutes and told stories. And I'm the only one in that group that got a standing applause because all I did is speak from my heart. And, I'm just a guy from Detroit. My mom and dad got a divorce when I was 7. I wouldn't consider myself lower class, but, we had new clothes for the start of the school year, but it was tough. My mom worked her ass off. The point of that is if I could do it, anybody could do it. I'm just very curious. I still got a lot of humility, super humble. And I don't care how successful you become. The minute you forget where you came from, you forget what it was like to bust those tables, you start disrespecting people. Is the day that everything will change. And Jesus Christ put me here. And if I don't, and I'm not going to make this all about, my faith, but I know he could take it away just as quick as he granted it.
You're solving problems that are big and that are interesting. And I think you're solving problems that everybody thinks they want to solve. They probably don't want to when they actually get there. But they at least think they want to solve. How many states are you guys in now to help set that stage?
Well, we're out of a state that I was in. We're in 21 states.
On that path to your goal target EBITDA, is that all 50 states or 48 continental? Or
No. I'll be in 48 states when we're at 2 billion of EBITDA. And there's a clear path to get there. The market cap of garage doors won't allow us to get there. But what I have that no one else has is I'm in more homes than any HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing shop. Probably take the big 3 of all of them combined, and I'm in more homes. So I've got more access to more clients. So, there's 3 ways to make money. Get more clients, sell your clients more, or keep them coming back more frequently. The number 2 is charge your customers more because I could sell more. I'm only selling garage doors right now. Wait till I open it up. And I don't want to Too many people help me in the HVAC plumbing industry to shit on them, but there's still a world of products that just the front door lock. If you're putting a MyQ system on the garage door,
Mm-hmm.
put one in the garage on the entry door to the garage and on the front door. I mean, there's a world of opportunity. It just came out that the garage door for the seventh year in a row is the number one ROI in the home. But with all that considered and said, there's no number two. And I'm not being cocky. If you look at the garage door industry, you'd be like, man, I want to get in the garage door industry.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't. I mean, look, if I went into HVAC, plumbing, electrical, flooring, gutters, windows, flooring, like ticket size matters. And that's why I got to run 20,000 jobs a month. And the operation we need to have to run that it's 2 decades in the making. And everybody says, well, if he could do it, you can. Just plan on, by the year 2040, you might have something decent.
Can you break down the garage door, like in whatever size you want to break this thing down in? But like, what's the differentiator between garage door and plumbing, HVAC, electric?
HVAC, number one, and plumbing and electric. You could have a warehouse full of parts for everything, and you can fix it the same day or the next day. Garage door is a special order most of the time. There's the U factor, R value, polystyrene, polyurethane, hollow back. There's vinyl back. There's different radius of track. There's different dimensions, different colors, different window sets. There's different patterns on it. So a lot of the time you got to special order it. So that alone creates problems. So that's a big factor. Number two is there's no licensing to get into garage doors. You don't need any special certification. So it's easier for me to find techs and train them, but it's easier for someone to cross the border and start, Pablo's garage door company. We really got to differentiate ourselves. The next thing is we could buy a garage door a few years ago for $400, whereas a front door would cost us $5,000. Garage doors were held in the 80s till COVID. It was like, wait a minute, you could buy a garage door for cheaper than you could buy one window for. So finally, they're getting smarter, and the industry as a whole needs to move up and stop selling to Chuck and the trucks.
So that's like manufacturing was selling, like a wholesaler was $400.
Yeah, and my plan is, listen, I hope they raise the prices. They continue to raise the prices. If I have my way, once we get big enough and get with the right PE company at a massive level, we could work in Washington, D.C. to pass regulations that not just because it is dangerous. There's lawsuits all the time with garage doors. It should be a skilled set that you could have, that you need a licensed contractor, because I'm willing to get through. I already am licensed in every market. Like, we make sure to get licensed, but it's just really low barriers of entry. And the more barriers, I think, the better, because it keeps out some of the spammy trash. You got that. And then garage doors and locksmiths are the two largest spammed industries on Google in North America by far. So they've got like these advanced verifications, but there's still so much spam because you don't need a lot of skilled labor. You get in and out, and you could extract money from a client, and you can never find that guy again. So in HVAC, you got to like get up on the roof. You got to have a crane pull it off, and you got to like you got to mess with electricity. So it's easier to spam, and so is like blower vent. They blow the vents, and like that stuff's pretty spammy too.
Duct cleaning. Someone just told me earlier today. I'd never even heard about this extra layer of Google, the advanced verification. I just found out about that like a few hours ago. And it was locksmiths and garage doors. Yeah. Yep. So like, how does that even work?
For example, if I was to my GVP or GMB or my LSA or my PPC, you got to call somebody. First of all, you got to go through Pinkerton, which is the background checks. And then you got to go and you get on the phone and you show that you've got a real building. They check your signage on Google Meet. They check your electric bill. They want to see a business card. They want to see your truck that is wrapped. They want to see the plates with the registration to the business name. They want to see all this stuff. Now, there's ways that people are spamming it, but it's going to catch up to them. I mean, it's black hat stuff. But that's and then a lot of times they'll flag miscellaneous GMBs, take them down, and then you got to re-verify it and get a postcard sent back. And a lot of times you got to use the video to re-verify. So, we've had it happen enough where we've got a whole filing system and a whole process, because all of our shit's legitimate. But there's a lot of differences. I mean, I would tell everybody on here, go demand driven, and pest control is demand driven, because you're not going to allow scorpions to just go all over your house. But if you're going to do like floor coatings, it's great when the economy's good, but you got to ask yourself, the one thing that was really, really attractive is that when your garage door is broken and your car's stuck, you're calling somebody. And the great news about our company is we could do service or we could do door sales. In a bad economy, we still got the demand for service. And I think that's really attractive to private equity.
What does average ticket look like in garage doors?
I mean, a good company, most garage door companies are having between 300 and 700. We're a little over $1,000. That includes zeros, that includes door sales.
Okay, so that's holistic. Average ticket.
Are there lots of options too? You kind of mentioned some of the different garage doors. Do you view in HVAC and plumbing we're able to offer lots of different options, upgrades? Do you have that in the garage door industry?
Yeah, we've got our. We've got it with springs, rollers, cables. We got it with garage doors. Typically on a garage door, we'll give 6 options: 1-star through 5-star in our signature package. Then we've got 3 different cycles for springs: 10,000, 25,000, 80,000 cycle springs. Our 80,000 cycle springs are trademarked. Doesn't mean someone can't get a version of them, but if you're comparing apples to apples, we sell oranges. And I like that about us. And a lot of people don't want to spend the money to do the stuff we've done to differentiate ourselves. Most of these trolls on the internet, especially on Facebook, are losers. And they'll never make money, and they brag about how their truck's not wrapped, and they brag about how they charge less, and they're busy, and they're living at their mom's house. They don't have a business. Their wife's working for free. Their daughter's working for free, and they complain that the prices are too high when they shit on their employees, and no one's allowed to make money. They got to stay in an apartment. They got to drive a used truck, and they'll never put their kids in a school zone. They think, oh my God, they charge a lot of money. I watch them live in poverty and never have a real business. Then when they turn 65, they can't sell it because it's a pile of garbage, and I'll pay them $10,000 for their phone number because that's what their business is worth.
Yeah, we deal with we deal with a lot of the same thing.
I was gonna say this goes across industries.
Yeah, that one goes across industries. Yeah, I appreciate the primer on garage doors. I wanted to dive a little bit into sort of the mid stage of the journey of your growth. So obviously, you gave us an idea of where you're at now, which is awesome. What I wanted to focus on is what did A1 look like between 20 million and 100? So, what were the key decisions that got you there? I've got some questions to get in here too, but that's where I'd love to start here. So can you give me sort of a year range? When were you guys doing 20?
Let's just be very, very careful here for the audience. And let me just make a statement. Nobody cares about your revenue. When you walk in a room and you're beating your chest and bragging about revenue, revenue is for vanity, profits for sanity. Yeah. When you get into a real room of smart people, they'll talk about profit and EBITDA. So anybody that inflates the two and gets them confused, no one gives 2 shits how much revenue you're doing. They care about your profit, because if you're not making profit, you'll be out of business. I've seen $100 million companies go bankrupt overnight. So I want to be very clear, because I thought when I walked in a room, I high-fived everybody and I said, how much revenue are you doing? And now I'm like, listen, how much profit? Because we're at 25% of the bottom line. We'll be at 30.
How do you drive that? How do you drive that culture? That sounds like something you're driving throughout the company. How are you driving that culture throughout the company?
Well, if when I was more unsophisticated and a little more immature about the business, I used to think if I grow revenue, I could always turn the dials and grow profit. There was a few close calls on it to make some tough decisions we could talk about later. But now everybody's bonused on EBITDA. And because now we've got a sponsor behind us, I'm not making any drastic, crazy things that, hey, I'm going to go with my instincts and go put $1 million out of EBITDA into this market. But really, where do all my C-suite VP and direct reports, where are they making their money? They're making their money from the outcome of the business. They've got either profit units or equity rolled. So even if we don't hit our bonus for 1 year, they're looking at the big picture. And I did this on the deal before. So you asked about, $17 million. I think this is important if I could just kind of go off on a tangent about what happened at 17.
Yeah, of course.
17 million is when I got onto Service Titan. I started my podcast. And I met Al Levy, the 7-power contractor. And Al Levy walked in my office and said, let me see your manuals. And moral of the story, we went through a lot of things together. And he said, I'd like to work with you, but you're going to have to really listen to me. He was very adamant. He saw the entrepreneur, the ADHD, the shiny lights in every direction. And he said, you need to be focused. And if you're going to work with me, I'm going to be very hard on you. You're going to have to stay disciplined. And I said, you have my word. So we sat in a room at my last office with me, Adam, Brian, and Al. And we built the first 10 manuals. But the first 3 were the technician, the CSR, and dispatcher. And then we built the installer. We built processes, performance pay. We restructured the way the building was, where the layout was. We literally had a process for taking inventory, using tools. What happens if your truck breaks down? How do you get PTO? Are you allowed to have facial hair? Well, how is your uniform expected to be? Then we read 10 pages a day. Each technician had to read it out loud in front of us and sign off on each page. And then we started answering questions when you asked. I think there's a page, maybe 67 in your manual, where you could learn more about that. So, and if there was a question that came up more than 3 times in a month, it got added to the manual. So we started to be more methodical. Number 2, we really put an emphasis around financing. I should say the finance side of the business. And it was only 3 years ago where I got the right CFO. And I think that's the biggest issue with most businesses. They don't have any financial. I think that's the last thing people get a grasp on. And they say, as long as there's enough money in the bank to pay the bills, we're doing good. And we could take some money out at the end of the year. I think people get confused with the fact that they feel like they're making money and they pay themselves $300,000 a year. And when I ask you how much money does your business make, it's not how much you pay yourself, because I pay myself $350,000 a year plus bonus. The business still makes 25% after that. And I think people need to understand, after you pay yourself a very healthy amount of money, the business still needs to make 15% or more. And that's the small businesses out there that think, oh, I made $300,000 last year. No, you didn't. You paid yourself $150. Your business made $150. And you shouldn't extract money out of the business early. You should reinvest it. You shouldn't go flip houses or buy a bar or reinvest in your buddy's business. You should put it back in. Service Titan's a big deal, because we found the right CRM. We got on Al Levy's manuals, the 7-Power Contractor. Those of you that don't know it need to read it. And we started to be very deliberate about standard operating procedures, checklists, and manuals. I started to create processes instead of being firefighters. And Al Levy told me, he goes, Tommy, when I get done with you, this business is going to be very vanilla. It's going to be very boring. You're going to be walking in here and you're not going to be running. You're not going to be running out here putting out fires like you are today. He goes, you're one of the best firefighters I've ever met. You could run every position in this company with your eyes closed. You know how to do everything. You put out the fires with the customers. You handle payroll issues. You got HR things. You know exactly what to do, where the parts are, how to fix everything. But you're the only one that could do all this. The world of the business revolves around you, and that's not how it should be. So we built the management, but then we built depth charts. And basically what we said is a CSR could be a dispatcher and vice versa. And a technician could do an install and vice versa. We figured out the org chart wasn't built right. And he taught me, instead of hiring somebody and building a box around the person, build the box and find the right person to fit in that box. So there was a lot of things that came from Al and Service Titan. And then fast forward to $30 million. Al took a picture, black and white, of my van. And he showed it to me. And this is the 5th time he brought this up, and he circles things and he goes, what do you even do? Look at your van. He goes, I still don't think it's right. And it was my picture, my real picture on the side. And he said, I'm not in love with it, Tommy. Then I said, okay, what do you want me to do about it? He goes, listen, there's one guy, at this time he was a partner in Zoom Drain. And Ken Goodrich had approached me at the same time and said, call Dan Antonelli. And he said, call Dan Antonelli with Kick Charge. And lo and behold, I'm already 35 million. I couldn't tell you the exact number. It was risky. Like, you're going to rebrand the company and change the logo. And Dan said, I'm going to give you the best look ever. And it was crazy. After I got rebranded, our prices doubled because people wanted to pay a premium. And our positioning in the marketplace changed. And people wanted to work for us. And people stopped quitting as easy. The turnover rate went down. Like, the marketing dollars went so much further because people were typing in A1 Garage Door Service rather than Garage Door Repair Phoenix. And so all these things happened. And then, as things started to get larger, we really started focusing on the little things that most people like. What are we paying in merchant fees? Why are we paying? We've got 3 trucks sitting on the side. Those aren't being used. That's $1,400 a month. That's $4,200 a month. What are we using Wex cards for gas because half the technicians were filling up their wife's tank? And these little things that our CFO helped us find. It was crazy because you got 5 people doing AR. Why do you have AR? Well, we got to teach your installers to collect every single time. So we started finding this droves of money every corner. But the one thing that I'd say I have that very few CEOs have is I'm obsessed with marketing, and that's my favorite thing. I love sales. and I'm a culture guy. There's different types of CEOs that have a CFO background, and they're good at finding things that my CFO finds. But I'm a leader, and I show up and I lead by example. And I got a lot of respect because I had these technicians' job. I've lived in their shoes. I don't think it's an advantage that I've done the work. It's an advantage that I know where they've come from, and I know what it means to work in the cold or the heat, and I know what it's like to be driven around by a dispatcher, and dispatchers making mistakes, and CSRs not getting data accuracy right. So those are some of the things that have had to happen to get us to this level.
When do you feel, you talked about the rebrand and your marketing focus. At what point do you feel like you really dialed in on your lead gen?
Well, here's what's funny. If I go back 8 years, I had a very skinny room that we built in our warehouse, and there had to be 12 people in there. We were only doing SEO. We were link building. We were building content. It was like we were obsessed with mobile optimization. There was this thing a long time ago called Mobile Get, and if your phone didn't load on mobile, you were going to get deranked on Google. So, I mean, at a very early age, I was obsessed with reviews. I was obsessed with video testimonials. I was obsessed with social media, just getting reviews on social, with Yelp, with Angie, you name it. I was doing it on Yellowbook, BBB. I was building citation sites. I was obsessed with Google at an early time because the Yellowbook had died right when I started. So fortunately, I became obsessed with this reputation and getting found on Google. But attribution, before 2017, I was on CallCap, and it's a great software to help you get attribution if you fill out where every lead comes from with call tracking. But ServiceTitan, I could just click a report, and I know exactly. I mean, let me just pull up this page right here as GMB, LSA, PPC, green, yellow, red. Yeah. Every single market, what they're doing, what's going on with it. I mean, this is a report of all the reviews I got and what the status is in that market. I mean, my reporting today, we met with the PE company, 130 pages of reporting, and that was 4 hours long. And I know how long my average hold time is. I know how long it takes to book a phone call. I know the average CSR, how many calls they book per day. I know exactly how much dispatching we're doing for dollars, how much move-up revenue we're doing. I know exactly how many workers' comp claims we had last month. I've got my report of all of last month, what we did. Most people say by the 10th. I get mine by the 4th. I do believe the reporting side of it, most people barely know what's in their bank account. I know exactly how many injuries we had last month. I know exactly how many calls we take on average. I know exactly we're at 6 minutes and 10 seconds to book a phone call last month. And I know we got to improve that. I know on average we're at 2 minutes and 13 seconds to answer a form fill lead. And I got to get that under a minute. People are like, I just need more leads. But their call booking rate sucks, their conversion rate sucks, their opportunity job average sucks. Like, the data will set you free, and most people are looking at the wrong data. I don't believe their data. Like, if I were to ask you what's your booking rate, you'd play probably around 90%. Mine's 87.4%. Like, and I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. There's checks and balances. So I don't believe anybody's even managing. They don't know what to manage, and what gets measured gets managed. And I don't think people are paying attention to the details. And I don't think they need to know like I know. And trust me, I mean, there's 800 people here. The fact that I know these things is pretty crazy, but this is all we look at. This is how we make decisions. We don't go off a whim. We don't go off a gut feeling. We don't go off, an emotion. We go off of what the facts are. And I feel like so many small business owners are like, I think I should do this. If I walked into your business and spent 3 months with you, I'd say, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what needs to be done. This is the biggest hole in the boat. We need to fix this first. And I think people don't know what to do on Mondays. They walk in and they go, well, I got a lot of work to do. You're very busy doing minimum wage tasks, not doing the 80-20, the 20% that's actually making an impact in the business. And if you're even doing your own emails, even at $5 million, that's a $15 an hour, $20 an hour job. I'd like for you to write down everything you do on a daily basis. And I'd like for you to figure out how much you make per hour. And if you could hire somebody to do that job at less than you make per hour, then do it today.
When do you feel like you got a handle on your unit economics like you have now?
So we had a really, really good foundation, but when we partnered with the PE guys, I mean, it's freaking insane.
They next leveled it.
They required
dude, listen, these guys are not a company. Cortec's not a company that just comes in and says, how we doing? They come in and they got an expectation of the data, and they will peel the data apart. And they're so good at what they do. I mean, I called Doug after our call and I go, dude, how the hell do you do this stuff? Like, it's so impressive. I said, you could pull a needle out of a haystack, man. And he's asking, and all they do is ask the right questions. But, we became obsessed with data almost too much, I think. The Power BI tools, we're using Rilla Voice, we're using Chirp for automations. I mean, now it's like, I will tell you this. This sounds really bad, but give me 1 year. I mean, because we're renegotiating with our vendors. The Power BI is getting more sophisticated. The AI is getting more sophisticated. The machine learning, the Dispatch Pro, the things we're doing. Give me 1 year, and there will be no reason why I can't take over every market on the planet, because I got the best pricing. I got the best booking rate. I got the best conversion rate. I've got the best economies of scales. I'm getting trucks at a better price. And I'm willing to break even in a market to take market share. So I think what you're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years, and there's really nobody in HVAC even close to us. If I was in HVAC, and I know Ken Haynes and Ken Goodrich and Leland Smith and all these guys, the pioneers of the trades, they might disagree with me, but I think I could crush anybody. I just think everybody's lucky that I'm doing garage doors. And I know that sounds cocky, but I think my team, I think I know what these guys do. I know their numbers. I just think we're a software company now that does garage doors.
Yeah. The data must be huge.
We're investing a lot of money to forward develop Chirp for the automations that fires straight off of things that people aren't even thinking or talking about. Our turnover program is just light years ahead of anybody in our industry. And, one of my buddies called me recently and he's like, I think I figured out something at Google that very few people know. And I'm like, what do you know about Google that I don't know? And I'm and he goes, well, Google wants unique content pasted onto their GVP page from ServiceTitan. I built an automation. And he's like, could I just give it a shot on 6 of your locations? He goes, I'll give you the 6th one free. And I'm like, sure. What is it going to cost? He's like, a couple grand a month. I'm like, well, give it a shot. I'm like, if it works, and he's a smart guy. His name's Kellen. And we go golfing, and he helped me get onto Yelp and really dominate Yelp. So I took him seriously, but I'm like, Google's kind of my thing. Within 2 months, we were doubling the phone calls in those areas. And we got a lot of Google locations. And my VP of marketing goes, holy shit, we need to get every location on this software. Like, that's all he talked about for 2 weeks. I had a buddy, Tyler, that called me up and he goes, dude, I was spending 22% on marketing and I can't figure it out. And I looked and his second listing wasn't even showing up. He worked with Kellen. Within 2 weeks, his marketing was down under 10%. Because it was so many phone calls. I talked to a guy right now that's at 200 million of EBITDA. He was telling me all of his ROAS and his cost of marketing per campaign. And this is their CI or their chief marketing officer. And his name's John Thornton. And he says, if you're not taking advantage of Google Organic and optimizing your GMBs, because his ROAS sucked and everything else, but he said, that's 40% of my leads. And people are not even optimizing their GMB or focused on what their Google rankings are. If I went to any company, you go to Ahrefs website checker. Type in a1garage.com and type in any other company, and I don't think anybody's going to come close to us.
Do you guys still to this day focus quite a bit on SEO, though?
Let's put it this way. My number one thing this year to focus on is SEO. More than GMB, LSA, PPC, more than Valpak, more than referral marketing, more than any other thing is SEO. It's a gold mine. Where do people go to research? If you want to know anything about what's better, Lennox or Trane or Goodman, if you type in my HVAC unit's not blowing cold, what air quality do we got to worry about disease and viruses? If you're not coming up, people do research before they spend $15,000. Where do you think they go? You think they go to Angie? You think they go to PPC? Or do you think they go to the web and try to do a little bit of research? And, they might, for me, it's a visual sell. They might go to the House, or they might go to, what's that photo site? Pinterest.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that are SEO, House and Pinterest and different sites like that. But all I would say is anybody that's like, yeah, SEO is dead. Well, what city are you in and what do you do for a living? Because I'm going to go open up in your market the same shit you're doing and crush you.
How much of the SEO is on page versus local, like GBP? Which one's the bigger focus at the moment for you?
Google My Business GVP has always been a top focus.
Yeah.
I kind of lost my way. I got spoiled. We're always building links. We've got links and I've got a whole link strategy. I mean, that works very well. I mean, anytime we donate to AYSO or the Baseball League or do the Cancer Society, I say, listen, you need to put us on your website, and I want a little excerpt, and I get a link. And some of them are EDU. We do scholarships. So, like, we've got a good link strategy, but I haven't done as much on site. So, when I said my next focus, my entire focus is going to be making the website more for the researchers, more for when people are comparing things and best of. And I think one of the tips out there for the small guys is join the BBB. For no other reason than it's the best citation site to validate that you're a good business. And Google loves the BBB. It kind of just says you're serious about your business because you're paying $1,000 for the BBB. Now, none of us, 20 years ago, the BBB was important and it was a big deal. And people are like, dude, nobody looks at the BBB. But the thing is, Google looks at it. It says that you're a real business and you're found in the BBB. And I still believe in going to things like B&I groups. I mean, we don't do it as much in as many markets but I used to go to B&I groups every week. And when you're smaller, you got to do that. You got to do the networking and meet the people.
When do you think like marketing took off for you? What size of a business were you where this really became dominant force? A few months ago, we got our call center on Avoca. And Avoca is a AI call center solution for home service companies just like me and probably just like you. They have a couple different products, but the one that we like the most is their coach product, which listens to every single phone call and runs it through a rubric to help our call takers improve. And this is a really big deal because we take hundreds, sometimes thousands of phone calls every single day, and it's just too much for our trainers and managers and leads to keep up with and effectively train. So it lets us do ride-alongs on almost every single call every day. Click on the link below to go to Avoca and make sure you use the promo code OWNED for a special discount.
I've always been pretty good at getting leads. I mean, I know the chief revenue officer at Angie. I mean, I'm always kind of 2 steps ahead in marketing. I say for me, I could get as many leads as I wanted in any industry, I believe. My biggest problem was high booking rate, high conversion rate, and high average ticket. So sales was secondary to marketing for me. And as you could tell, I'm on a lot of stages. I'm speaking at Service Titan event every year. I wrote 2 books. My podcast is number 14 in North America for business, not for home service. So I've done a great job of marketing myself. And because of that, people come to me. I mean, just today, GoodLeap had called me, the CRO at GoodLeap, and asked me if I want to get involved in a newer product, and we are going to get involved in it. So I can tell you that, I think marketing is more important than sales, but sales and giving the customer the right experience and leaving them say, damn, I've never felt like this after a company. And it's not me out there anymore. So we got to train well. We've got to have checks and balances. That's why Rilla Voice is so important to our company. The fact now, I know my call center, what they're doing, because I can listen to those calls. Now I can listen to the whole experience of what the customer feels like when we're there with the client.
When did you onboard with Rilla?
Sorry, can we take a step back? What is Rilla Voice for people who don't know?
So Rilla Voice is a AI tool that if you put your cell phone or tablet out, there's, I think, 38 states that you don't need consent to record both parties. In 12 states, you need to get permission. So in the 12 states like Florida, New York, California, you got to be very careful. You got to get permission, but it allows you to record the conversation, and it picks up tonality. It picks up, did you ask an open-ended question? Did you tell the company story? Did you follow the sales specifications of your business? And the coolest thing is guys get a lot by just listening to themselves. They're like, oh my God. They're like, I sound like that. Depends. So when they hear themselves, and then it tells you the words per minute you're talking and who talked more. Our top 10% of our technicians talk far less than the clients. They ask open-ended questions. They show the price or the investment in monthly payments instead of giving the total price. They tell the company story after they give the price. They slow down when they give the price. Rilla Voice tells us all that data. And by the way, Rilla Voice is not cheap, but here's the deal. If I close one job or upsell one customer, and I hate the word upsell, but I said it. If I give the customer more options,
better options,
then it pays for itself. And what I love the most about everything I'm talking about is everybody that's listening. And this is a stat that I can almost guarantee. 1% is actually going to do the stuff I'm saying. Only the 1%ers. And I'm the 1% that actually did it. I'm the 1% that went to Gettle. I'm the 1% that went to Service Champions. I'm the 1% to go see Keegan's business and went to go see the company in Michigan doing over 100 million and went all over the country to search out these answers. And I'm the one that went home and did everything they told me to do. And there's a lot of people listening. They're spraying and praying. They're hoping one day. What if today could be day one? What if you actually took action on half the shit I'm talking about? A lot of people are going to take notes. They're going to say, they're going to put it in their phone. They're going to say, I need to do this. And it never gets done. They're going to say, yeah, I knew I needed to do that. You knew you needed to do it a year ago. You just never did it. And you wonder why you need more leads. No, you need to book more phone calls, and you need to take advantage of every lead you run. And you need to be focused on the right things.
We're the biggest in our market, and people get, like, most of my competitors follow me. And like, we have not a huge audience, but it's big, 50 to 80,000 followers across all of the stuff, like readers and listeners and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, people are like, why are you sharing everything? I'm like, fuck are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. They subscribe to my newsletter, and I still watch them not do the shit that I'm telling them to do that I passed them when they were 10 times my size. And now I'm 3 times theirs. And they're still not going to do it. And like, I'm giving them the playbook in my fucking Friday newsletter. Like, here it is.
My whole C-suite and VP level, they all came into my office and they said, what the hell are you doing? They're like, you're giving up all of our secrets. And I go, I don't have a lot of secrets, guys. Here's what I tell people. Guess what? You want to have a 6-pack, low calories, watch your macros, go on a calorie deficiency, eat a lot of protein. And then work out, just do a little bit of cardio. Within 3 months, your abs will start showing. No one has a 6-pack. They know what they're looking for, this magic pill, this magic diet. I 45 companies upstairs in this exact building 6 years ago. And I said, how many of you guys, for a door and an opener, I want a nice door and a nice opener. Let's say our cost back then was, I said, $1,500. How many people here are charging $7,500? And everybody looked around. And I said, what about $6,000? Well, put your hand up. And one guy was like, yeah, $5,800. And one other guy goes, how do you sleep at night? And I said, wait a minute. Let me ask another question. How many of you guys have a billboard on the majority of every corner? How many of you guys have brand new trucks and are on service type? How many of you guys have insurance and a 401k and PTO? How many of you guys can afford to leave the HVAC unit very cold in the summer? I go, how many of you guys are in multiple states? I go, there's no hands. How do you sleep at night knowing you're shitting on your employees? You say you're giving your customer a good deal so you can take advantage of your employees. And every person in that room shook my hand that day. They said, I'm raising my prices. And I said, raising your prices, unless you raise your customer service, is not the answer. Unless you take care of your people is not the answer. It's not just raising your prices. It's raising the entire company up and caring about the people. Leaders eat last. And you got to take care of the people first. Because if you take care of them, they'll take care of you. What's more important, my employees or my clients? My employees, my coworkers are way 100%. More important because they're the ones that are showing up for my clients. If they feel neglected, they're going to neglect my clients. So without great people and without a great place, people, when you leave a company after 40 years, they bake a cake, they take you out to drink beers and do shots, they celebrate, there's balloons. Why don't we do that when people come in? Why don't we put out the red carpet and invite their wife in and tell them that they're special? Here's what we do. We say, here's what you're going to do the next 2 weeks. You're going out with my best guy, then you're on the road forever. In football, I play 2-a-days. We practice twice a day, 5 days a week to play one game. Yeah. But for some reason in business, we say you're going to practice for 2 weeks, then you're in the game forever. And you're going to practice on every client's house. Why is that? It's ass backwards, and it's not how I run this business.
We're in the topic. I saw something the other day about a 7-week onboarding. So obviously, I think that's what you're sort of working towards here. What does training look like post onboarding? Obviously, 7 weeks. Like, you're going to turn anybody into a rock star in 7 weeks, which is awesome.
It's 8 weeks.
8 weeks. All right, that's even better. So what happens post onboarding to make sure that continues?
Here's what they have access to after 8 weeks. Number one, they're going to get polished for the first month. So 9, 10, and 11, and 12, you're working with another person was you need the help because you're finding your own way. Now you're on your own. Number two, you got access to the market acceleration technician training. So I'll send a guy out there to help you. Number three, you could come back to Phoenix at any time, and I pay you really good money to come back to Phoenix. You can do a ride along. You get paid $250 a day to do a ride along whenever you want. You get a morning mojo called Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. You get an hour-long Thursday meeting, hour and a half once a month called the Bring the Fire meeting. You get a virtual product special meeting to learn all the tricks and tips on how to do a turnover on Wednesdays. You got access to Rilla Voice and a scorecard of the top technicians at every single KPI, and you can listen to every single one of their calls. The smart people are listening to the snippets of what we snippet, and we say, here's what you need to know of how they're number one at that KPI. The next thing you have access to is you get 2 one-on-ones every single month. And we let you do the presenting. And we focus on your goals, your dreams, what you want out of life. And so you better come wanting more out of life than anybody that you know. Because here's the deal. You're going to break the family tree. All the lineage changes with you. This is when everything comes true. Everything is going to go right if you want it bad enough. You better have your goals written down. We better understand. You better dream bigger than you ever dreamed before. I don't want to hear you want a house. I want to hear you want 10 houses. I don't want to hear you want to take the kids to Florida to go to Disney World. I want you to say, I want to go in a private plane, first class in the penthouse and cut every single line. Because if you want more, we'll give it to you. If you're just like, oh, I'm okay with food on the plate. Okay, well, go find another job. You can work for a competitor. Because I need people with drive that are competitive, that like to win. Aspire to be number one. That's what's written on this. You can't read it, but aspire to be number one. Winning. Core values right here. Everywhere around this building. We brought everything Dan Antonelli did within the building. We feel the brand. We live the brand. We're not just A1 Garage Door Service. We're A1 from day one, baby.
Do you find that the media company actually helps drive that culture in the business?
Yeah. Half the people said they came because of me. Half the people in my training program, I do every orientation. This is the orientation slides that I go through for 4 hours with every single group. I'm the one at graduation at every single one, but I sign off on everybody's certificate. Their family members join when they graduate. There's a red carpet. We do a champagne toast afterwards. We treat people like this is your new career, not here's your job. Go do this.
Yeah.
We were excited you chose us. And a lot of people are just like, hey, you know, the old saying is this guy drives up to his company and the guy walks out and goes, holy shit, that's a Ferrari. He goes, I love that car. And the owner goes, well, listen, you work hard. You persevere, you show up, you work overtime if you need to. You do everything right at this job. I'll drive a new one next year. And I like to build a way for our people to get that Ferrari.
What's the highest earner make?
I got a few guys that are going to do over 300. I got a couple dozen guys that do over 200. If you don't make over 100 as a technician or installer, there's a problem with you. If you can't make 6 figures, by the way, 6 figures, you get your vehicle PTO, you get all the benefits, the insurance, the pet insurance. You know, we pay for half of your Aflac.
Did you say pet insurance?
Yeah, I got 2 dogs. I added that.
That's awesome. That's a great
nice.
benefit.
Yeah. That's a funny one. Yeah.
It comes with dental. It comes with the whole shebang. You get paid training. You know, a lot of people say you got to go to a school and then we'll hire you after you get done with training. We pay people to come into this career, which is really odd. You know, I got these people coming out of the woodwork coming into our industry thinking they're going to beat us. And I'm like, wait, how? Well, we come from PE. You're going to buy a bunch of companies and try to mash the EBITDA together. It's not integrated. You don't have economies of scale. You try to keep a founder under $5 million of EBITDA and have them get along with another founder, their mindset's too small. They've never figured it out. And they're like, we're just like you, Tommy. We're just like you. And I'm like, well, maybe you are, but maybe you need another 10 years because maybe you're just like I was when I was at that size. And you got to understand, I was worse than most of these guys. I was picking parts out of a dumpster trying to get refurbished parts. I mean, 2008, 2009, I was doing whatever I can to survive. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but I've made a lot of mistakes. I think that's probably my best skills. I'm the largest failure in the room. I fail all the time, but I fall fast and I get back up. A lot of people, they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to try. They want everything to be perfect. They want everything to be timed perfectly. I'm like, let's go ahead and shit the bed and get back up. And we are going to lose a lot. But in the process of losing, we're going to learn from this. And it's going to be one metaphoric scar, metaphorically speaking, a scar or a bruise, that we're not going to make the same mistake twice. And I make calculated risks more than anybody I know. And I run at things, and to a detriment at times. But at least I could say, been there, done that. And that's why I have probably 100 years experience to the guy having 40 that never made any mistakes. It's just comfortable. I never am comfortable. I'm never comfortable. You know, I celebrate our wins, and then I flip the page and say it's a new day. Even when we sold for a crazy amount of money, I said, great, let's drink champagne, broke out a Magnum bottle, shared with the 25 millionaires we created, and I said, now let's go. People say, my mom says, when's enough enough? When's enough, Tommy? And I say, when has Tiger Woods won 4 majors in a row? Did he quit golfing after that? This is my passion. This is what I love to do. This is what I'm meant to do. And so far, this is God's plan, and I'm gonna share it with the world, and I'm gonna create a lot of millionaires. And I want my legacy to be something where, by knowing Tommy and shaking his hand, he kept his word. He honored his word, and my life changed for the better by knowing him. And if that's the case, then I'm winning.
I mean, it sounds like a compelling vision, and obviously you've proven it out. So, beyond vision,
Yeah.
sounds like impressive track record. Obviously, executives were comped into the deal. Like, what did that look like?
I want to say 2019, I did equity incentive program. How it worked is I paid 300 grand to Foley, which is a great lawyer firm, and we set a threshold of what the business was worth. And I was very generous. I almost couldn't get away with this low of a number, but I put it at 50 million. And the multiples, I put a low multiple for 2015, which through COVID, the multiples went through the roof. The 50 million was mine. And then let's say you got 1% of the company. And let's say we were worth 200 million. So you take 1% of 150 million, you got 1.5 million. Well, I did a pool of 30% and I ended up giving away 20% up to that point of selling. So out of the case, some of them got tons of money. Some of them got $1 million. I think the lowest amount I gave was like 1.2 million. And a lot of people that were with me from the beginning got quite a bit more than that. And I only allowed 4 or 5 people to roll, the intricate people, because the PE company didn't want a lot of people to roll. They wanted to use profit units. It's a new mechanism under PE that they use 10% above and beyond that vests over a 3x return. And it's complicated to explain this, but the main thing is I knew I had great people. We were at a big company size. We were more than 10 million of EBITDA. And I think if you're going to go around handing equity out, the only people you hand equity out to is to attract and keep talent. So a COO, a CFO, your marketing person, and maybe if maybe possibly a couple of people that are running different markets if you're in multiple markets, but you just don't go throwing it out. I think I was over generous because they're not going to make as much. A lot of people won't make as much money on this turn as they did on the first turn, but they're loyal as hell. They're not going anywhere and they trust me. And they're going to make more money than they would make anywhere else because everyone else talks. They've never done it. They never give any money. They don't have a goal. Equity is worth nothing unless you sell. I mean, it doesn't really give ownership. It's not like I'm doing profit sharing. It doesn't give them any say of what the decisions are. What it does is when the turn of control changes, they make money. And I had a CFO that we left with. He was at an ESOP for 15 years. And I gave him I let him vest for 1 year on a 5-year vesting period. The check I gave him was more than he got for 15 years in his ESOP, which was 550 grand he got. He got more than that from me.
That's wild.
And all of a sudden, everybody was rolling in the same direction, sprinting at the goal I put out. And they were self-policing. It was crazy. It was crazy how quick we grew when everybody knew the goal. They knew the deadline. They knew where we were running towards. And they knew what needed to happen. And when everybody's invested like that with knowing the outcome, oh man, you're on a speedboat. You're on a rocket ship.
Some of the key people, the COO, the CFO, the marketing, how early in your growth were they hired?
Adam started in 2014, and my mom and stepdad were working for me since 2010. And it was the Tommy show. And I met Adam, and he's a friend of a friend, and he's just a really, really smart guy with a finance degree. And he became my COO. He started out as a general manager. I made a lot of mistakes. I incentivized him the wrong way. I incentivized him to save money instead of growth. But, Adam is still one of my best friends. But we had to make some shifts a couple of years ago. And Luke is a guy that understands Service Titan. He's very good in Excel, and he's a great leader. And the biggest thing about Luke is he's willing to grow. And, typically now I'm going to put somebody in the leadership positions that have been where I want to go. But the fact that Luke can learn so quick and not make the same mistake twice is what makes him so valuable. My CFO has already worked for bigger companies than us, and he's a genius. And my VP of marketing came from massive companies. He managed $7 billion company. But, home service is quite a bit different than most industries. We rely on different things.
Yeah.
He worked for Meritage, which is a large home, they do new construction. So their tickets are larger. So we run more transactions than most companies are used to. And there's a lot going on here. I mean, people are just like, oh, I'm going to buy a few companies and roll them up. I'm like, well, what's your greenfield? What's your growth? Like, the thing is, people don't really understand multiples like I do because they know a lot about a lot of different industries. I know the outcome. I'm friends with all the investment bankers. And now versus 3 or 4 years ago, the company needs to be all the same tools, all the same trucks, economies of scale. It doesn't need the same name, but it needs, I could put any tech in any market, I could fly any tech to any market, and they could run the job. Same price book, same software, same call center, same dispatchers. Everything's the same, and it's fully integrated. And our pace of growth is outperforming any other industry. So I know we're going to be worth a ton of the next turn. And I love how these guys, that 82 people saw our SIP, which is basically our folder of how our company, all the major accomplishments and where we're headed, where we're trending, and what the last 5 years looked like. And so kind of the cat was out of the bag, whatever they say. So a lot of these guys said, man, we want to go in and be the next big player. Like HVAC, there's a lot of players.
Yeah.
And all I would say is I hope they grow. I hope they come in and do well, because I know I'm going to buy them at a discount, because I look at the people that are our competition and I smile, because none of them bother me. Nobody's a threat. Nobody even – my biggest competitor is when I look in the mirror of, am I going to make the right decisions? There's no other – people don't understand that. They look at everybody else. They focus on other companies. I'm too focused on winning. You see, losers focus on winners and winners focus on winning.
If you were going to give a message as we start to wrap up here to aspiring entrepreneurs trying to break that 9-figure mark, what would you hand out?
I got a couple quotes and then I'll just chat about it for a minute. But number one is the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. The second thing I would say is you could continue to stay in your bed and dream, or you can wake up and chase your dreams. And there's no better time than today. And what I could tell you guys is be very curious and be doers, be implementers. Don't take notes. When I'm at a seminar and someone says something, I'm setting something on my calendar or texting somebody to get going on it. I don't wait. I don't put my notes under my pillow and hope the note fairy is going to come grant everything. A lot of people make notes and they're like, we need to do this and we need to do this. And this is on the agenda. It's on the docket. We're going to get started in Q3. It's like, dude, I'm starting now. And I put pressure and people say, listen, there's no way we could get it done in that time. And I say, if I gave you $10 million and 100 people, could you get it done? And they say, well, yeah. I'm like, then what do you need to get it done? If money's no option and resources are no option, don't say no to me. Tell me what you would need to hit my deadlines, because money's not even an obstacle anymore. So I think the best thing you could do is go visit a shop that's doing 3 times what you're doing, and ask a lot of questions, buy them lunch, read their books, listen to their podcasts, and show up with gratitude and ask a lot of questions. Be humble. Don't tell them how great you are. Show up as a field mouse, just peeking your in there, and be very humble. And don't brag about anything you're doing. Just take a lot of notes, ask a lot of great questions, and don't say, oh man, John, I'm exactly like you. Let's just say, listen, I just admire your business. And one day I aspire to be more like this business and like you. And if you would take me under your wing and just give me a few pointers, I won't bother you. If I could chat with you once a quarter, that'd be great. That's why I do shop tours. TommyMello.com/shop. I had 4 or 5 companies in here yesterday, and I gave them 2 hours of time because people opened their doors to me. And that's the least I could do is pay it forward.
Yeah.
So go out there, be a student for life. Readers are leaders. If you're not reading, you're losing. I recommend a new book that just came out. It's called What Should We Do? Uncle Joe Crisaro wrote the book. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell is phenomenal.
That's a good one.
Like, if you're still mowing the lawn, unless you love mowing the lawn, what are you doing? Like, your business needs you, your family needs you. Like, don't take your cell phone out when you're at dinner with your kids and put it on the table. Turn your phone off and be where your feet are. Spend quality time when you're at home. Be at home. When you're at work, be all in and be focused. Remember this. Racehorses wear blinders. If you go to the Kentucky Derby, they are all wearing blinders. They're focused on winning. The race, it's noisy. There's stuff being thrown out of the racetrack. There's a good book by Gary Keller called The One Thing. Focus on the one thing you need to get done. And I know I just threw out a lot of information, but man, it's like focus. Don't divest out of your business. Reinvest and watch it. I told my buddy a long time ago, my first book, I wrote this down, Dave Carson. I said, man, I like to put my eggs in a lot of baskets. He said, Tommy, can you imagine if you put all your eggs in one basket, how quick that basket would overflow? And man, he was right. He was exactly right. And I think everybody's got a side hustle. Let the hustler in you die. Let them die today. No longer are you a hustler. You're a business owner that's focused on the people and growth. And you're focused on profitability. And the hustler needed to die. And you let that person die. And you focus. Or else you're going to have regrets. You're going to wake up in 20 years and say, man, I listened to the podcast. I heard what to do. And I'm not perfect. You're going to say, man, you wake up one day and you're like, no regrets. Don't let that happen to you.
Laser focus. It's what's going to do it. I think you've demonstrated it too in a couple different ways today. I think was interesting. Knowing leads, you talked about this the other day when you and I were speaking, but yeah, knowing leads, knowing that you got 40 additional leads from a new marketing source, knowing your unit economics, understanding your call center metrics. I think that's like a byproduct of being obsessed in a good way, like obsessed, fanatically obsessed with the thing that matters, the thing that moves the needle. So I think you've done a good job of, like, you said it, but you've also like really demonstrated it pretty well over the last hour.
I want to say one last thing here that people always ask me, how do you find the right, like, how do you know what's working? And if I want to know that, if I want to figure out Angie's List, you know what I do? I go on Angie's List, I find the number one HVAC or roofing company. And then I call them up and they take my phone call. And then I go visit them for a day. I'm sending my whole team out to a company in Memphis on June 3rd that I just did a shop tour and I was impressed. I'm also going to Morris Jenkins 2 months later to figure out capacity planning. And the thing is, if I want to find out what's working, you want to find out how to get to the top of Google, search a different industry, the best industry, and go talk to that person. Don't go to all these people on all these Facebook groups of what they say they do. Success leaves clues. They're right in front of you. So all you got to do is do the work and then ask the questions. If you want to learn how to be at the top of Houzz or Pinterest or YouTube, go find the company that's already doing it. Don't go to the consultants that hasn't done it in 10 years, because those who can't do in the real world teach. Find somebody that's actually in today's world doing it on this algorithm that's already a proven success. And I think a lot of people, they go, oh, who's got all the answers? And they're praying and they're, just do some searches, find the number one, and then go ask questions.
Yeah, I think this is your biased action you talked about earlier. Just like, yeah, get off your ass and do it.
And the 1%ers, I hope somebody's going to call me from this podcast in a year and say, yeah, the biggest thing, and I can't help, I know I'm dragging on, but you're never going to be happy unless you're happy when you look in the mirror. If you don't smile and you don't feel great and you don't think you're your best self, you don't show up with your family. Like, so many people put all this emphasis on business, but they're drinking soda all day and they're drinking all the energy drinks and they're eating like shit and processed food. They don't have and they go, well, it's easy for you to say. Well, no, it's not. Like, I work just as hard as anybody. I'm a better delegator than most. But I think when you look in the mirror and you're not proud of yourself, if you don't walk in a room and say, I'm the baddest ass dude that ever walked, but be humble about it. I mean, if you could be. I mean, I go in a room and I smile.
You know how to walk in a room like that and be humble, dude.
Ladies, Tommy's here.
Yeah.
But I still feel like, man, when I don't feel like you play me in a game of cribbage or euchre or bags or pool or whatever you want to play golf. I don't walk in thinking I'm going to lose. And if I do lose, I'm going to be obsessed on how to win. And guess what? Adam used to beat me 100%. At ping pong, so I went and seen a ping pong coach because I got sick of losing. And why would I practice my own way when there's somebody out there that could teach me and save 5 years off my timeline?
Awesome.
Yeah, you can finally beat Adam. Did you beat him?
The story goes like this. Me and Adam used to play every day in the summer for an hour.
Like brainstorming or like working through your thoughts of the day, or what was
ping pong. Just ping pong.
Yeah. I'm imagining like my president and I, we take laps and we I'm going to do ping pong probably now. That's funny. But we just take a lap and hey, what happened today? Like, what was the debrief basically?
We talk shit. There would be all the tradies watching us and whatever. But, I went and saw this ping pong coach, and he's the best west of the Mississippi. Like, he was a champion. He's got 5 tables, different paddles. He says, what's your goal? And I said, I don't want to be a champion. I just want to beat one guy. And he goes, tell me his serve, tell me where he stands, tell me his weak points. And all we did for a month, every day, I'd go there for an hour. So me and Adam hadn't played in a while. And I said, Adam, you want to play a game of ping pong? And he's like, sure. And he's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And I used to keep up, but he beat me 4 out of 5. And today was different. I unzipped the paddle.
Oh, yeah.
Very slowly. Pulled out. He goes, where'd you get that? And I said, I picked it up. I threw the ball up and I sideswiped it. And the ball hit the thing and just goes off the table. And he goes, where'd you learn that? And I go, somebody's been practicing. And then he served it and I slugged it back. And he's like, holy shit. And all of a sudden he played a different game. And he's very, very good. He was taking it easy on me for those couple of years. And then I started winning a lot more. But, it's, if you don't use that, I still beat most people. But that's the way I am, man. You know, if I played, my grandma passed away, but if I was playing my grandma, I wanted to beat her ass. I mean, it wasn't like I'm just playing for fun. That's not how I play. I play to win everything.
Well, fun is winning, so that makes sense.
And that's my dad's doing. My dad used to shove it in my face every time he won. I was a sore loser growing up. I'm still not quite as bad as I was. I mean, I used to be like thrown out of a meet in wrestling, but if I lose, I can't stand it, but I'm better than I was. But that's why I got this bracelet on, aspire to be number one, is because if you're not winning, you know, shake and bake, right? But I enjoy people that like to be at the top and they're competitive. And they had to practice doing something. If you played the trumpet every day, that's great enough for me. Like, you practiced every day to get better at something. You had a passion. And if I could build this into your new passion of winning at A1, then we're all going to win together. And if you're winning, I'm winning. That's why I'm okay with guys making 300 grand, because they're making 300,000. I know I'm winning, because that's how I built the
100%.
performance pay.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us today, man. This was good. I feel like I got to know you better. Obviously, I got to know A1 better. This was cool. I'm going to come out and I'm going to sling some garage doors. This sounds like a good time.
Cincinnati needs garage doors, baby.
Yeah, seems that way. If people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You should join our group on Facebook. It's free. It's Home Service Expert. I think there's a lot of really great people, a lot of different dynamics there. TommyMello.com. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, X. Any type of social media you follow, you can find all my stuff on there. And then I do have a newsletter. It's free for the first few months. I don't make any money off of it. It takes a lot of time. There's no marketing in it. I'm not selling anything in it. It's TommyMello.com/news, NEWS. And then we got the event coming up that I promise is going to blow people's minds. We got Jocko.
Yeah.
We got Ellen Rohr. We got Darius Livers. We got Sebastian with Rilla Voice, who's the AI expert.
Yeah.
And I've got Sean Michael Crane, who's at like 3% body fat, just a machine. Just every part of your life and business, I think you're going to learn a lot. It's September 25th through the 27th in San Diego. If you go to freedomevent.com, this is something, I don't know if anybody's done events, but you don't make money in events. This isn't something where this isn't a great rich. I'm already doing pretty well. So this is really a way of giving back. And I mean that. And this is a way of me connecting with more people. And I feel like my superpower is my network. And your network is your net worth. And if I could get to know more people, I mean, I don't care if you're big or small. I don't care if you're black, white, Cuban or Asian, old, young, male, female. I don't give two shits. I care about networking with you, and we can work together. And I'm sure there's some stuff you know that I don't know. And if we figure out how to work together and the Rolodex becomes bigger and you network with more people, we're all going to win. And that's why I wrote the book, Elevate, Build a Business Where Everybody Wins. And I truly believe our customers, our vendors, I get to win, whether the coworkers get to win. Everybody should win.
Thanks for sharing it, man. And we'll add the links to that stuff in the show notes. People want to check it out. Freedom Event sounds awesome. Thanks for coming on today, Tommy. This was an awesome look into your mindset, into you, and into A1 Garage. So this was awesome. I appreciate you taking the time.
I had a blast. Appreciate you guys hearing me rant.
Thanks, Tommy.
All right,
guys. Everybody tuned in next for our next episode of Owned and Operated.